We're here in Ottawa at the MMAFA dojo, Capital Combat Parley, Lewis Hill and Garmamie Sideau. We are here with Coach da Matta at the dojo. It's a Sunday morning. We come into the dojo packed with students, sweaty place. We're seeing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doing tachiwaza, and Sensei da Matta here yelling out uchigaris and correcting students. I've never seen that at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu dojo where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu train and drill some serious tachiwaza. It was an awesome sight. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you to Stephane as well. We're here with, as I mentioned, Coach da Matta. He's a Brazilian champion, multiple-time medalist in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a Pan-American champion. So you're quite a busy man. You were just in Brazil a couple of weeks ago. You were in New York City. You were in Mexico. You're a busy man, and you're leaving here in about a couple of hours. How do you keep up with such a busy schedule?
Well, you know, when you do what you love, you know, it's not a burden. You know, it's an amazing opportunity to work with high-level UFC fighters and have the opportunity to come here to the lovely Ottawa, the place that I call my second home, with this MMAFA, our affiliate gym in Ottawa, with Stephane is an amazing, instructor, very well known here in Canada. So to me, I'm lucky. I feel lucky that I have this opportunity to have an affiliate like him, and keep up with my busy schedule.
Now, this is an exclusive ATT dojo in Canada. This is the only ATT dojo in Canada. What are your thoughts on Canadian MMA athletes and competitors and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners?
Man, Canadians are amazing people. And the fact that they love martial arts is amazing. You know, we have, at American Top Team, we have so many Canadian mixed martial artists. We have Valerie Letourneau. She's from Montreal. She's fighting in the next UFC 206 in Toronto in a couple of weeks. We have Dennis Kang. We have Mark Bocek. So all these guys came to American Top Team down in Coconut Creek, Florida, to train, to get a better, a feeling of the MMA and the UFC and everything, So I absolutely love to train Canadian fighters, man. They're easy to work with, hard workers, warriors, You talk about Valerie Letourneau, a girl she's a pretty girl, but she can fight, and she doesn't mind getting, all bruised up as long as she wins the fight. So it's a pleasure to me. It's a pleasure for me to work with these kind of fighters,
So you're obviously a very prestigious, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler, world-renowned. Many people respect you, want to train with you, so on and so forth. I myself, when I heard you yelling the Uchigari calls, I was like, wow, because it's awesome to see that the tachiwaza. Obviously, this man has a brown belt in judo as well, so you're all-around grappler and complete, and everybody knows that. One question I want to ask for a high-level coach like yourself: when you're dealing with students, athletes that are all around well-rounded, they're in great shape, they're flexible, they're strong, they have endurance. What aspects of coaching become the most challenging, dealing one-on-one with different individuals? What aspect, because of your background as a prestigious coach, what do you have to bring when you're coaching individuals one-on-one? What is it about you and your coaching style, particularly in grappling, that brings so many students to you?
Well, I think first of all, I need to recycle myself every single day. I need to learn every single day new techniques, develop the techniques that I already know, better myself as a coach. That's why I still compete in all levels. High level with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I still compete in MMA, not as much as I wanted to, but with my busy schedule to train people, I have to, I have just a short period of time to train myself. So that's why I don't fight as often as I wanted to. But the most challenging aspect, I would say, is to bring their best ability on themselves. We need to actually make them believe that they can, and all the techniques that you show a high level fighter. you need to be 100% sure that technique works, you know. So that's the challenging part. Which technique I would show to a certain person, which style would match that technique, which technique I will match with that style, you know, and learn every day. You know, I'm still learning every single day. I learn with my students, I learn with my fighters, I learn even online, you know, researching for new techniques. I learn with my friends, you know. So, you know, the challenging part is to keep my mind open and being humble enough to know that I don't know everything, that I still have a lot to learn, and pass that humble experience and humble attitude to my fighters, you know.
When we look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu currently, in as far as sports Jiu-Jitsu, there's a lot of competitors obviously involved at a recreational, competitive level, international level in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu. You're coaching mixed martial art fighters as well as sports Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. What do you prefer between the both? Do you prefer to coach mixed martial artists or sports Jiu-Jitsu players?
You know, I'm a competition addict. I want to win. I'm a very competitor as a coach, as a competitor, as a fighter. So my biggest joy is to make people win. It doesn't matter to me if it's in a world championships, if it's in a UFC event, if it's in another kind of event. I want to win. I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to lose an argument, let alone losing a fight, you know. So I don't have like a preference. I wanted to make them win. My joy is to make my fighters or my students win.
What's the current state from your perspective? What's the current state of sports jiu-jitsu internationally?
Oh man, it's still in the baby steps, you know. It's huge. It's the IBJJF, which is the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. They're so organized. They're so meticulous in every single aspect of a tournament, you know. But it's still, there's so much to grow. There's so much to get better. There's so much to achieve, you know. So I see a lot of growth potential in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the next, I would say, 5 to 10 years, you know. So we're still growing. We're still evolving as a sport. We're still evolving as how the fighters and the competitors will make money, you know. But I see a bright future in the near future for Jiu-Jitsu.
Now, what aspect do you think of the jiu-jitsu game when it comes to sports jiu-jitsu at the international level? What aspect of the game do you think athletes are overtraining and undertraining? What aspects you think are not being explored or being overexplored?
I think sports psychologist is one of the underrated and the underexplored for sure. Because people and fighters and competitors, they used to work, they used to train their body. But not everybody trains their mind. And the ones that do, they have an edge on top of everybody. Imagine if you go into a tournament confident, calm, completely, you know, in control of your emotions. That right there is already an advantage of someone who has the same technique, the same body type, the same stamina than you, but don't have a strong mind. Right there, fights and tournaments are won by the smartest guy, not the best guy. In other words, the best guy not always win, but the smartest one always win. So, you know, I would say that the under-trained will be the mindset, the sports psychologists, these kind of things, you know.
This is really fascinating that you mentioned that, because Lewis and I, Combat Parley, we always talk about the sport psychology aspect, and we review many interviews and do a lot of research on the subject that doesn't seem to get much traction. People don't talk about the elephant in the room, which is sports psychology. And it's great that you're mentioning that, but then again, it's no surprise because you're coaching competitors at the highest level of competition. And this sports psychology, as you mentioned, is the elephant in the room. Now, you're a very intense, I can tell, I just met you now, you're a very intense, passionate, fiery character. I don't even think he blinked once. You're that intense. But I think ultimately that level of intensity as a coach, what do you look for in fellow coaches? How do you know when you see other coaches? How do you assess other coaches?
Well, I think...
and I know it's different for different sorts of coaches, but
different coaches have different approaches,
that rhymed.
Yeah. Some coaches are more like mellow, some more like, calm. I'm more like, energetic. I like to be on top of everything, to make sure that my fighter has everything that he needs. Sometimes, obviously, when you're in the corner and you have maybe 50 seconds to change the direction of a fight, you need to be very objective. You need to say a few things that go into your fighter's mind and make him click that he's doing something wrong or keep doing what he's doing correctly, So it's a mix between being intense at the gym and being calm and direct once you're in the corner, And some coaches don't have that. I was just watching UFC last night, and there's one of those coaches like yelling the whole time for 15 minutes, yelling. And obviously his fighter was not doing what he was yelling. Maybe one or two things, but not everything. So coach is an art. If you don't know what to do and when to do it, you can get your fighter confused. Or even just like, I'm not going to listen to anything he's saying because he's saying too many things. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the best coach in the world. I'm not perfect. And that's why I still think that I need sports psychology for myself. I need to better myself mentally. I could use a lot of help. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I can see that I've done mistakes. I've made mistakes in the past that I try not to make it again, and I try to better myself as a coach every single corner that I do. And I try to talk to my fighter. My fighter needs to be my friend. We need to speak the same language. When I say do this, do that, put the hand here, put the hand there, they need to know by one or two words what I mean. And you only get that if you have a daily relationship with your fighter. Being friends with your fighter is really important. Sometimes you go into the cage, sometimes you talk to him like I'm talking to you right now, and I can see on his eyes, in his body language, what he's feeling. That's major, because sometimes he's looking at me, but he's not there. So nothing that I would say will matter. So I need to make him, okay, are you here? Listen to me. Forget about everything that's happening, or forget about everything that happened in the last round. Maybe he got rocked. Maybe he got knocked down. Maybe he's like completely like, and you need to calm him down. Or maybe you need to like shake him off a little bit, maybe yell a little bit. So these things you need to actually know when to do at the right time, And that's the whole science of being a coach on a high level,
Your original coach is Carlson Gracie, yes? What values did he instill in you as an individual on a personal level and as a practitioner of the sport and a competitor at the professional level? What did he instill in you?
Character. Carlson Gracie was a guy that, inspired me and molded me a lot on the mat and outside of the mat. When I got to the Carlson Gracie gym in Copacabana, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I was only 14 years old, so I was still a kid, forming my character. And he was one of the most loyal guys I've ever seen, one of the most direct guys I've ever seen. That's why maybe I got a little bit of his style, you know, being so direct, so energetic, because he was exactly like me. I mean, I am exactly like he was, you know. So I use him as an example to the way I coach, you know. And he created the biggest army in jiu-jitsu history, you know. So I try to follow that lead, you know, to be able to maybe create maybe 1/10 of the champions that he created. I'll be happy, you know.
You have a lot of athletes that you coach, a lot of great competitors. Who do you enjoy coaching the most? And who do you enjoy watching fighting, be it in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, or mixed martial arts? Who do you love watching?
Man, I'm not going to say who I enjoy.
Come on.
I'm not going to say who I'm enjoying coaching because somebody will get mad at me.
Fair enough.
You know, but all the fighters that trust me to help them out, I enjoy, you know. Someone that is kind of like an idol to me, and not only because to me he was the greatest on the mat in the modern Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu history, but the way he carried himself off the mat, I'm a huge fan, is Marcelo Garcia. You know, he's just a good person who done in Jiu-Jitsu something that I've never seen. You know, not only in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but also in grappling. So I really enjoy watching him. You know, back in the day, obviously, Amaury Bittetti and Ricardo Libori was those two guys that, you know, were idols to me, as well as Clovis da Silva, the king of armbar back in the day. And then nowadays, I really, really enjoy watching Rodolfo Vieira and Bruno Malfacini. Those two guys are very technical. Bruno Malfacini is 8 times world champion. He's in the Rooster division, so it's the lowest one, but that guy is amazing. And Rodolfo Vieira is one of the big guys, fights as heavyweight division, but he moves like Bruno Malfacini. You know, it's actually a joke that we have, that how can a guy that big, that strong move like a rooster weight? It's amazing. That's technique, you know. So those names come on top of my head, you know, right now, that I look up to, you know, somehow in a different way. But I would say that Marcelo Garcia is one of the that's up there.
You're, as I mentioned before, you're an extremely busy person. You're traveling the world, you know, coaching your fighters, so on and so forth. But you're also a competitor yourself, right? In mixed martial arts as well as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When's your next fight? And yes, tell us about your next fight.
Well, you know, what happened was this year was a very busy year, you know, coaching-wise. I fought in January, and because of this whole UFC schedule and my seminars, you know, and I also have a wife and 2 kids, so, and my own gym. So I have American Top Team, the headquarters, which I teach in the mornings, all these UFC fighters and everything. And then at night, I go to my own gym in West Palm Beach that I teach the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all the fighters, you know. I have my wife, I have my 2 kids, and I have all those trips, seminars. I'm here doing a seminar. Last 4 weeks, I was coaching in the UFC, and then I have like my belt ceremony next week. So it's really hard to actually focus on myself, you know. So I don't have anything coming up right now to the end of the year. I wanna just like rest a little bit until January, and then next year, I'm telling you, that's gonna be my last year competing in MMA.
Wow.
I'm 43 years old. My last fight was against a 22-year-old kid, full of testosterone. So I need to sit back and reevaluate, you know, my priorities. You know, here I'm 22, but my body feels 50, you know, because of the whole. And it's hard when you're traveling around the world, you know, and you don't sleep in your bed, and you don't have your food, You have to eat in the hotel rooms and airplanes. It's hard to keep an extremely healthy life, you know. So right now I'm focusing on coaching and make my fighters and my students better. You know, I'm not focused too much on myself. But I'm telling you, next year I'm going to be my last year of MMA. I want to do 2 more fights, one in Florida for my Florida fans and one in Rio de Janeiro. That will be my last one for my family, my friends, you know. But the good news is that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I will keep competing as long as I'm alive, you know. So I still planning on competing in Jiu-Jitsu of the worlds, you know, on the Master Worlds, which I competed this year.
Right.
As a super heavyweight.
Tell us about that. Why did you decide to go super heavyweight? And tell us about that.
It all started in the beginning of the year. You know, I was going to compete in the Miami Open, which is right in my backyard. There was nobody my age in the weight division, not 1 above, not 2 above, not 3 above. The only competitors was the super heavyweight division. So, you know what, I'm going to try it. And I beat them all. I was like, whoa.
How did you beat them? What in general? What was it?
Points, advantages, you know. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing this because they can keep up with my speed and my technique, you know.
Did you immediately take them down? Did you like do a?
They pulled me. It was amazing.
They're afraid of your stand up.
Yeah, because I have a good judo background, so people who know me will pull guard on me. Who didn't know, I made them pull guard on me to make them scared, you know. And then I competed in Miami Open, Boca Open, New York Open, and I won all these divisions. So when it comes down to the Worlds, which was in August, I say, you know what? Worlds is a different story, you know. I'm going to try to go in the super heavyweight division. And the division had like 32 people. I won. I beat 4 guys. I beat 3 guys, and I lost on the 4th match by referee's decision against a guy who was like 235 and 6'3" tall. I am 5'4", 165 pounds. So being 3rd place in the world, I lost in the semifinals. I lost to this monster who became my friend. You know, after the match, it's like, man, I can't believe that I compete against you. You're a guy that I've been looking for so long, looking up for so long. You're an inspiration for all these guys, and you were a tiny little guy. You went to the podium in the super heavyweight division, so it was good. Even though I was not happy, I thought I won that match. I thought I was unfair that I lost that match. I thought I was supposed to go to the finals, but it didn't happen. I was happy with the results. I made a real big buzz around my name and around the tournament. Everybody was like interviewing me. How come you were one of the best featherweights in your generation? Now you compete at super heavyweight and you still
that's awesome
able to get to the podium. So it was okay. It was not great, but it was okay, you know. So I take that.
That's amazing, and I've seen some of your fights online, and even your highlight reel. It's you're relentless, so aggressive with the takedown. God damn it! Like if anyone,
be on bottom.
No doubt, but it's just watching that level of intensity and aggression and, you know, willingness. It's fascinating, especially right from the get-go on the stand-up. It's you know, it's amazing, and no wonder when we walked into the dojo here at the Mixed Martial Arts Fitness Academy in Canada, Ontario. When we walked in, you guys were drilling, you know, the stand-up aggressively, and it's great to see that. One last question. You mentioned that next year is a very important year for you in your career as a martial artist and competitor. What does it all mean to you ultimately? Because you started off originally wanting to play soccer as a kid, and now you've chosen the path of martial arts as a competitor, as a coach. Ultimately, what does this all mean to you personally?
I think the whole journey to me is amazing. You know, like you said, I started off Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just to prove to Carlson that I don't want to Jiu-Jitsu. You know, he was a guy that for 6 months, every single day, he would bother me, like, man, you need to come to my gym. Carlson, I want to play soccer, I want to play foot volley, I don't like fighting. And then one day I decided to go for maybe 2 weeks just to get this guy off of my back, you know, and here I am over 25 years later, you know. I gladly never regret that decision, because that's why I'm here talking to you. That's why I'm here with Stephane. That's why I support my family. That's why I know all continents, because of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because of what I did in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brought me to the United States, to American Top Team, and gave me the opportunity to work with these high-level fighters. So I'm really honored to be chosen by that guy, one of the best guys ever in Jiu-Jitsu history, to be under his wing. And he really took me under his wing. He really taught me on the side. And I'm really proud to say that all my belts I got from Carlson Gracie himself. And what means to me is that people ask me one question all the time. Why are you still competing? You don't have anything else to prove to anyone. You already have your name and your coaching name set. But I think what drives me is the example that I set for my fighters. When I stop competing, when I stop fighting, I want all my fighters to look at me and say, man, I'm honored and happy that that guy is my coach. I'm really proud to be that guy's student, because he is and he was an example to everybody. That's what drives me. It's not the money. It's not obviously the girls because I'm married. It's not the fame, but it's the example that I set for my fighters and my jiu-jitsu students that drives me to still wake up every day with that mentality to be a competitor, you know. And one day, obviously, my body won't allow me to do anymore. But then I won't regret anything that I done. You know, I will look back and say, listen, as long as I could, as long as my body allowed me, I tried and I competed at the highest level that I could do it. If I'm not doing it anymore because I can't, I possibly can't. My mind is still there, and I think until the day I die, my mind will still be competitor. I think I'm gonna get in heaven, you know, trying to compete against my oldest opponents. Like, let's go, my man, let's go. We're here now, let's go again, you know. But my body, obviously, you know, there's so much they can handle, you know. So I think what drives me and what the journey means to me is like the respect and the admiration. That's the right word that I was trying to find from my fighters, you know.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been great talking to you, and all the best. I believe one of your students, Nunes, will be fighting Rousey soon. One last question. How's that going to go? Any predictions?
Oh, man. Amanda's gonna win by TKO in the first round. Mark my words.
There you heard it, folks. Capital Combat Parley. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
And all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you for all the opportunity here in Canada. Every time that I come here is a blast. I love this place. And if you are in town, if you like mixed martial arts, if you like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's no other place and no better place than Mixed Martial Arts and Fitness Academy with Sensei Stephane D'Amour. Okay, Google him and you see what I'm talking about. Thank you so much.
Thank you.